Hi guys, this is Chauncey from Good Music to Know, and today on Session Stories, it's an absolute pleasure to be joined with Friend of a Friend, a band that has carved out a unique space in the music landscape with their evocative soundscapes and introspective lyrics. Their latest album, Facilities, is a masterclass in balancing vulnerability with bold creativity, weaving together themes that resonate universally while still feeling intensely personal. So thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So what I was really curious about is the name, Friend of a Friend. The name in itself feels like a name that's rooted in connection and familiarity. So does the name of the band symbolize something personal, or is it philosophical, or something completely different, or your relation to music?
I think we are continually discovering a lot of what all of it means.
There's a personal relationship to it, but also on a philosophical level, the connectivity of all of us, right? And I think that probably some of the warm and coziest things in life is finding great new people through a friend of a friend. And that was kind of how the band had started. We were a friend of a friend. And maybe maybe that's a lot of bands start that way, but ours is maybe a layer deeper with we had seen each other off and on throughout the years. Claire was in the art world and I was in the startup world or whatever. And it was we had no idea that we played music or that she sings or I played guitar. So we would meet up and we would have these bland ass conversations. So boring. I was this is so ridiculous. I'm so bored. And she's I'm so bored. We're pursuing paths that weren't as close to our heart and soul. So, finally, some years later, that friend was hey, do you know that she sings? And that she told me I play guitar. We're why didn't you say this years ago? This is insane. Because literally after that, we jammed one time in my stairwell, Killer Reaper. It was on. Then we're this band started and we hit it every day now, so it's fundamentally changed our lives. And we know that for other people, you're always one person, thing that you do that can absolutely change your life in the least expected. I never thought in a million years that I'd be traveling the world with Claire Mullen doing music. So
also curious. So when you guys first came together as a band, was there a specific moment where you realized that your collective sound was something unique? Was it in the stairwell, the moment that maybe you just described?
Yeah, I think so. It was just just the first time that we met up to make music, it was
the first jam session.
Yeah.
Let's just come over. Who knows? And it's I was Claire sings. What? That blows my mind,
And I had never really been in bands or anything like that. So for me, I was definitely nervous. I didn't even think I might be able to sing in front of Jason. I had a lot of training growing up, and I have always studied and loved music, but I just didn't think I could do that for a living. And going over to Jason's house that day, I also didn't think that I would be doing it for a living. I just thought it was going to be an awkward situation, you know what I mean? Where you're kind of I don't know, see ya, that was fun.
It could be the musical equivalent of hey, this dude chews with his mouth open. No, I'm good on that. It's so
it was just magical. And I think that we both, right from the start, were just wow, this is so much bigger than us. And
we made a song the first time we jammed, and we weren't even talking about making a song. And at a certain point, we're just belting at the top of our lungs together, and we've never hung out in this capacity at all. So the fact we were able to tap in just like that is really remarkable. Because I'd played in bands for some time, and I remember beautiful moment, you're getting into your car and there's a street lamp that's flickering, and I'm Claire, whoa, maybe we should practice once a week. And you're yeah, we're gonna practice every day.
That sounds like the beginning of a perfect indie film.
Yeah.
A street light, and you're this is it.
Totally. And I think I said things about souls, and it's yo, this is the path. And I got real sentimental. So here we are. And so yo, dude, we're going to practice every day. And I was that's what I was hoping. But I was timid. I was maybe she'll want to practice once a week, maybe. So worked out.
Very cool. So one thing that I love about your latest album, Facilities, is that your music often feels in this album in particular, it feels it occupies space that's both deeply intimate, but yet expansively universal. So how do you balance, let's say, vulnerability with accessibility in your songwriting?
Like, so much of this, like, we're really like taking what's coming to us. And I think both of us, have a deep love for the world, and it's like where that accessibility, where that feeling is coming from. We're doing like understanding that like, music has a great power to really like heal us. And I think we've made a lot of strides in our life to choose to heal. And I think that can be a tricky thing because especially when you're writing, you want to talk about maybe things that are upsetting. And I think that we've just done our best to try and keep that sense of love.
Yeah, and it's like putting your guts and soul out there. The accessibility piece, and I don't know in what context you're like thinking about accessibility,
like
but
objective, like more
objective.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So it just basically means being able, like I meant like being able to be so vulnerable and open, kind of without like scaring people away, where it's still accessible for them and they can also relate to the song or the emotions or the feeling, like having that nice kind of that balance. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's probably a byproduct is like because we come from a very similar musical upbringing and things that have touched our soul, which kind of err in that world of vulnerability and deeply passionate and intense, but also it's not like atonal. Yeah, and we come from it, like we love the Radioheads and we love like
Radiohead, yeah.
Totally. And so it's like our souls are aligned in a way. I guess that's kind of what comes out. And kind of the idea of like, we're musicians, but we're also on the other side. We are music lovers. We go to shows and we like cry because it's so beautiful. We're part of the ecosystem. So for us to put in the way that we've been touched is just, we've been touched that way, and we're putting back into that ecosystem is just a natural kind of extension. We're not cognizant of it. We're like, pursuing it. It's just like that's what touched us, and then our version of that, and that like
feels a certain way.
Feels right, and it's like where we come from like the James Blake future electronic stuff, but we deeply love a passionate flamenco show in like Sevilla, and that's
like Rufus Du Sol,
which is crazy vulnerable. Yeah. And we love the mixture of like 2050 meets 1850 or 70, whatever, right? That's the type of music we listen to, and that's the music that we tend to gravitate toward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that actually segues me into my next question because I'm always curious about this, and you kind of touched base on it. But as artist, when you create, do you think more about what you want to express or how it will be like received by your listeners?
Yeah, again, like we're really not very prescriptive at all. And I think, a lot of the time, like Jason will come up with like a song, a jam, like a minute, like we'll be in practice and like, oh, we got to record that. It's like, guys, I'm not doing that. I don't know where to put it. Like then it's just going to be jams 1784. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
You have to process or whatever. So I think in a lot of ways too, it's like the song or the hook or the melody like will come back to us as we're jamming, and over time it kind of like I don't know.
And most of the time it's just like a moment, and then it's like we make the song. So a lot of the stuff on the album, I would say very much not edited from playing once or twice. We just we play it and it just comes out. That's maybe the piece of the prescriptive piece. Like we're just we play it and then we build sonic universes, choir and her singing or whatever. Just it doesn't really change from the first time we jam it out. It's just happen. Bridges just happen, and so it's kind of neat. It's kind of really fun.
And you guys recorded you recorded this in Joshua Tree, in a studio in Joshua Tree. I love Joshua Tree, by the way. When I lived in LA, we used to drive up there to go camping. Oh, I love Joshua Tree. But what was the experience like recording in the studio there?
It's epic. Our producer, Jordan, we just did our third album with him. So I guess at this point, it's we feel so close to him. It was really magical. All the sort of synchronicities and that kind of brought us to go out there and record.
The synchronicity was Claire said, after recording our first album, was oh, maybe, I have a feeling we should. What did you say exactly about desert?
I just I had this, dream that we would do like an album in the desert. But I think in my mind, it was like I was thinking about it like so far, I don't know, so many years.
And years
Yeah, later. And
I think we talked to Jordan. Then we talked to Jordan. He's like, "I'm in the desert." And we're like,
we were like, what?
"What? Awesome!" Yeah, it was really cool to almost get the desert vibe and like the harsh intensity of the desert mixed with, because Jordan came from M83, which is one of our favorite bands as well, and so it's almost like the hopeful, beautiful, intense, lusciousness of synths and that world. Joshua Tree is beautiful, but it's really harsh. Like, you can die.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not a forgiving environment. And I think it's for you to like confront things about yourself and, and it's really bare and intense. I think that was very helpful.
I mean, there's nothing else. It's just you and the sun, and it's so Lentine, there's really nowhere to hide. And we spent a lot of time out there. Like by the end of our time recording, like we were getting the local cafe discount, we could.
Yeah.
You guys talk about that saloon place? There's like that saloon cafe, like it's like a diner type saloon place. I think so. It's like all cowboy type attire inside. It's quite large.
The Red Dog? Is it the Red?
I think so. Something like that. Yeah. It's very like Western inside, but we loved it there. It was cute. Yeah. Not so much there, but yeah.
Or Pappy and Harriet's, maybe?
Pappy and Harriet's. If you're talking about like, it was like really decked out Western style.
Yeah, very Western. Yeah.
They have a stage. They have a stage as well.
I don't remember, but the place inside was quite large, and it wasn't very far from like this little mock ghost town area that they kind of have there.
That's Pappy.
Well, yeah, it probably is that then. Yeah.
So,
cool.
Yeah, that's so cool that you spend time out there. I love it. Like we never camped. What was that? I can't even imagine. Like, what was that like?
Nighttime was terrifying. Like I actually thought a few times, I was like, this might be the end.
Wow.
The amount of coyotes that you could hear in such close proximity to our tents, like there were tons of them. So that was really scary. But otherwise, yeah, it was lovely. They had like a little impromptu festival out there. They had this little grounds area where they have mini shows. So we saw a few bands that we'd never heard of, and it was the whole experience was really cool. Yeah.
Super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the entire album, but like there's a few songs that I have on repeat. So HLS, I have on repeat. Every Plane is such a sick song as well. There's actually like 6 that are my favorites. I don't know if you can have 6 favorites, but I do. But HLS, I wanted to ask you a bit more about, because when it starts, it feels like this nebulous, hauntingly beautiful dream. I don't know. You feel like you're kind of floating when you listen to HLS. So I was just wondering, maybe you can like kind of explain the story behind that song a bit more.
I think like when we first made it, there's probably like on the internet somewhere like a clip of us playing it just acoustic. I think with lyrics, it's like you can go any way. It could be any vibe. Like you can kind of take a song and make it into anything. And Jordan had this genius moment to flip it into the synth, where Jason was originally playing guitar. And I feel like that was the moment that we really were like, oh, Jordan, like. Yeah.
Our first album, it's like was very like it was made in your birth town or whatever, Nashville.
Yeah,
I don't know. But the Nash, or it's like we record in Nashville, which has a certain vibe and so like fiddles on the album, and like wherever we record, we like we're very porous.
But we had this vision, for the album. It was this moment we were like, wow, like he understands us. Like we get like
because we were always trying to for something like we naturally, as mentioned before, it's like we come from the electronic world as well.
Yeah,
as much as folk sentiment. So it's like adding a fat 808 at the beginning of HLS was like
we wanted to put that on the first album. And this is even more crazy. This is another serendipity. Jason was like, I really love it if like we could have some like really fat 808s like through the whole album, like of the first album, which I've heard doesn't have 808s. And so
really fat.
Just doesn't. And he goes, and Jason's like, I don't know, like, from Dentel, like, or like, M83 or something like that. And our engineer, friend, producer of the record, Jeremy, he said, well, I do analog. Like, that's not my, specialty, where you're going to have to ask somebody from M83. And so
like
when we found
loaded.
Jordan, it was like, yeah, it was this moment of like, wait a second, like it was just crazy.
That's where we
like,
wanted to be.
Yeah, like somebody had already basically kind of given us that roadmap and being like, oh, you'd have to talk to somebody like that. And we were like, hey, Jordan, what do you think about 808s? Yeah. He was like, yeah.
Yeah. So, for us, it was just like the vision was always, and I feel like with facilities, it really merged those worlds that we really thoroughly enjoyed. So classical guitar meets like somebody who comes from the madrigal singing background meets like 808s and synths and like a sonic universe is really what we enjoy, unless like 3D wall of sound stuff, like the ending of HLS.
And then the other song that I really love is Your Every Plane. I also love the music video. I love the cutaways to the drop of I don't know if it's like the drums or the kick. I don't know what it is, but it is really, really, really good. Like you're on stage and every time you move, it switches. I was like, but yeah, I really love that song. I was listening to the lyrics again and again and again today, and I had so many different interpretations that were going through my head about what the song was about. So the lyrics were like, you took my hand and lost my name, but then it also says, you turned to me, all stars in glory, you left me there. And I was thinking, I was like, is this song about the loss of a lover? Is it about like the loss of a friend or like the loss of oneself? I couldn't figure it out. So I wanted to ask you, like, what was the meaning behind that song?
Seriously, like, I can't tell you, dude. I don't know. Like, we were just coming out. I think a lot of the time it feels like, maybe it means this, and then later it's can mean something else. I think we're so, intent to find out. As like pins, like it's so hard not to want to know the answers. And I think,
and maybe it's like in the moment it means something, and then we'll listen down the road and it'll mean something else. That's the beautiful part about music, is that some songs can be locked in at time and space, and some songs it's like the evolution of it change. It can mean something differently. What was something that was hopeful, we can be then down the road we'll listen to like feels more tragic. Yeah. Right? Or if it's tragic,
depending on your mood.
Right. And you really like tapping on space because, that's life. You can read a book the same way and feel like for some reason that hit different this time,
What is your favorite song on the album? Do you have one? Every time you hear it, like, this is the one.
Favorite song? I know it was a Midwest thing. I've never said sheesh in my life, actually.
I'm like, that's what it's recently.
Turn that TikTok. Infiltrating my mind. Okay, favorite song, probably Always on Time, I think. Yeah. What about you?
I don't know. I feel like it just like switches with my mood or whatever, but I'm really partial to All Is Fair. It's just a vibe. Yeah, and apparently, like on my Spotify Wrapped, I had listened to the HK24 a lot, which was like
wild
at the end. I don't know.
Wild.
Yeah,
I would say in my head it's like Cigarette, maybe Cigarette as well, and like Way to the Sea.
Way to the Sea is a really special song for us, I think, for sure.
Probably the only one that we did over and over. Is insane. She's like a one take wonder in this. So she just comes in and kills it. And I think for both of us, maybe because there's so much vulnerability in that song. So that's like, for her, it's probably really intense. And for her, it's like intense, like flamenco-y guitar situation. And
we did it off click and stuff, Yeah, but it turned out to be like a really special thing. Like there were all these overtones from all the layers that
we're just stacking things over, and
we like pulled that out and made that into a vocal thing. Like we did a lot of transformations.
Yeah, a lot of transformations on the song, because that song we used to play live, just guitar and her, and a lot of our early days, because it was started the band during like COVID and shortly or during the pandemic or whatever. So it's just like, we need a lot of facilities just like at the beach, in a parking lot, in a stairwell where we're just driving and we're just like, we need to go record in a stairwell, and just like, so it's like we put all the Google Map points of where each song was made. It wasn't made in that traditional way where we're like in the studio or at a practice spot. It was just like
we don't
based
like
on
sit
life,
down to write
and
this
it's
song.
like let's just let's just jam or whatever. So,
but I think that's why your music feels so raw, because it's not meticulously like planned. Like it almost seems like when you create music, when it comes to like the lyrics that you have, Claire, it's almost like a stream of consciousness. Like it comes out for how you're feeling in that moment, in that time. And I really think that's what makes your music so special, is that you do feel that raw, real quality compared to other songs where you listen to the lyrics and you're like, it's a good song, I can't relate to this at all. But yeah, you definitely don't get a sense of that, which is why I enjoyed listening to your music. Another weird thing I noticed, I know it probably doesn't mean anything, but just curious, like, why are there 3 songs that are capitalized? Is it just because, or is there like a reason behind them? So I know like, there was like HLS, All Is Fair, and your final track. I always say this wrong. I was going to say Y2K, HK24. That's also capitalized.
I just like some things, it just feels like that.
it just feels right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It felt, yeah. Sometimes, yeah, and it's like it feels more powerful, capitalized, and sometimes
That's how
if the song is so epic, it's like maybe it's not capitalized.
Yeah.
we really want to serve like the right feeling for it. And I think like, yeah, we've been lucky that we all will agree. Like, yeah, that's the right thing for it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like it has its own wishes.
And lucky, like, yeah, once we like know or we like try out, we're like, yes, that's it. And we're pretty good at like, that's it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, move on.
There's never been a moment where anybody's been like, oh, like, I wish we would have done it. It's like, no,
we're
like,
not
we
belaboring.
fucking killed it. Like, let's keep going.
Like, yeah, we from the song to like the title, it's like, okay, cool. Let's go. Let's keep going.
Yeah. I only have a few more questions, I promise. I was reading a few articles about you guys a few days ago, and a lot of articles seem to compare your music to like escapism, or that word comes up a lot. And so what I was wondering is, do you see your music as a way of escaping the world, or more so making sense of it?
Yeah, I don't think that we're interested in like escaping anything.
Yeah.
I think we're trying to, I think we have, in that sense, from a sound perspective, it's like maybe, I guess it's more like a force of nature, a little more epic, more cinematic and stuff like that. And for us, that's like tapped into the entire human emotional spectrum, beauty to hope to tragedy. And like, we sometimes like we're making something like put it to the end of a movie or whatever, not to run away, but to just double down on those feelings and knowing that at the end of the day, it's about hope and beauty, but you have to experience the darkness.
Yeah, with so much love and passion, like and care for like the world and for people, and I think it's important to like seek truth and beauty and meaning. That's so like insightful of you that you like picked up on that from like reviews or.
And I think it's interesting. It's like different interpretations of like even from different cultures and stuff like that. Where it's like it's like we're tapping into like the music we like, and there's also like elements of Bollywood or like a flamenco show. Someone could view that as
or like a James Bond movie.
Yeah. And then somebody could view a flamenco show as like, wow, why are they so angry? You know what I'm saying? Right. Or why they? But when we watch that, we see life and all of its beauty and purity and femininity and the best. You know what I'm saying? And everything in between. So, and someone can listen to like some Eastern songs, are like, that's really sad, right? Or really like, tragic. But it's like to the listener, that's beauty and hope, right? So it's fascinating of like the interpretation of music and, how people can see it. It's really cool.
And ultimately, what do you both hope that listeners take away from listening to Facilities?
I hope that they like it. I hope they dig it. Oh,
I'll add to that. I feel the same way, but I think as we were talking about before, there's like, we're also on the other side of, as music lovers, and like it touches people in the way that other music has saved our lives. If it touches one person the same way that we have been touched for the people before us, it's all worth it. It's all beautiful and really cool that there's messages of hope and beauty, and kind of, as you're saying, maybe people interpret it maybe differently, but that's that we view it as, that cinematic, live your life, save the day, find the one you love, bust through, freedom.
Tap into that, like
tap into the universe,
your inner self, the light within. Like believe in that, and
we wholeheartedly believe that. Yeah, that is truly the lens making and creating this for sure.
Yeah. And what's next on the horizon for you both for 2022 for 2025? I know you mentioned there's a third album that you've already worked on. I know you guys are also touring like crazy at the moment. Anything else on the docket for you guys?
It's been crazy because it's like, I think it's like 9 days ago we played like this crazy festival or something in Mexico City. It was like 30,000 people. It was crazy.
It was crazy.
It was nuts. It was nuts.
Everybody lives in Mexico City.
Yeah, we love that city. And so we're probably going to look to go back there later in the year. And also we have the European tour coming up. We'd love to see you in Berlin.
Yeah.
Come on out.
Is it your first time in Berlin?
No, we
Were there twice before?
No, not in Berlin. No,
Yeah, we've been in
did
Berlin
play
twice.
twice.
Yeah, we've been twice in Berlin. Yeah.
Very, but that's really cool. And when's the third album coming out? Is that this year or probably next year?
We're still figuring out the details.
Yeah, still figuring out the dates.
Yeah, they're the real dates.
But hopefully sometime
within the first 6 months of 2025.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
We like this.
The train, everything. You know that meme with what's her name, Lady Gaga, which she's like car, bus, another show, another car, another tour.
Bus, club, another club, plane, next place.
This is just like constantly on the go. It's great.
The Gaga train, you know.
I feel like, listen, like it's like when you spend enough time doing something that doesn't make you ignite like all that fire inside you and make you want to do it, and then you all of a sudden you have that. It's like, well, let's just do it.
Let's go.
Like,
and we really love every aspect of
Yeah.
it. We love touring. We love sitting around or finding random stairwells or breaking into stairwells to make music, to record music, to make videos. And so like we really, really love every aspect of creating music in this world. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then any final words that you would like to leave your fans and listeners with?
We're
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you. We'll see you on the road. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for all the love and support. It means the world to us. We're gonna fight to come see y'all in person around the world, wherever you are. We're gonna make it happen.
That's so cozy.